Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rugby Through the League's podcast. This week, we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, that is Hasan from All Things Rugby. I know you've probably seen him on little bits when I was in London City Sevens with him the other week. Probably still recovering from that as well, a pair of us. But Shanir, it's a great pleasure to have you on, mate, to talk about your rugby path so far and where we are now sat with the All Things Rugby as well, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Listen, thank you for having me on.
So for those that don't know what your rugby journey is so far, because obviously you had a life in rugby before the All Things Rugby process.
I actually got into rugby quite late. Funny enough, I started playing Rugby League when I was 15, just in school. Here, catch a ball and run as hard as you can. So that's how my rugby journey started. But yeah, played league at rep level back in the UK, which really enjoyed. And then probably wasn't until I went to college I started playing Union. Instantly fell in love with it, but straight away also got involved in the coaching side of things. So I was coaching with the RFU and doing kind of mini and youths and the volunteer stuff. Ended up doing like London Youth Games and a few Queen's camps, which was great. Actually stepped away from the game for a fair bit. Travelled, moved to New Zealand for a bit, and when I saw the size of everyone playing in New Zealand, I was like, not a chance. And then when I got back to the UK, I ended up joining Wimbledon Rugby Club, both playing and coaching. And then flew the nest over to the desert. So I'm in Qatar. I've been here for 6 years and very much got heavily involved with Doha Rugby Club, which is the main local club here. And then about 2 years ago, the captain of Qatar at the time was a gentleman called David Ford, who's now CEO of All Things Rugby. We had an idea to enter the rugby space from a media perspective, but also from a tech and platform. So currently have two setups. First is obviously All Things Rugby. So we have allthingsrugby.com, which is our online newsletter, online newspaper, website with all of our stats. We're lucky enough to have people like yourself that write for us. And then we send people down to obviously games, and I'm sure we'll talk about like Rugby Europe. But we try to cover as much top level rugby as possible in a unfiltered, no bullshit approach. Say what needs to be said, give the players the limelight, show the big hits, show the fun side of rugby that we all love. We then started the Rugby App, which is then our fan engagement platform and data app. So what we're trying to do is give you a second screen viewing whilst you're watching the game. So whilst the game's going on, we're using stats from the app to create talking points and obviously start the conversation online on socials. And then we have Offload Media, which is our player agency as well. So lucky enough to work with some very high profile players in the game. We originally started with Sonny Bill, which is always a good name to get the ball rolling. The most incredible, humble man you'll ever meet in real life as well. So the idea is that Offload Media is our route to market to help players become more commercial, help the game become more sustainable, and then we use All Things Rugby as the front for that.
Rugby media is probably porridge at best or most of the way, and I think it's not just All Things Rugby. There's a few other platforms that are trying to change that narrative, and it's pretty unapologetic that ATR want to change the way of rugby. And how do you foresee that changing? Because obviously there's only so far that we can probably keep pushing the alternative version of rugby before that becomes the norm. What's the further vision of ATR and the Rugby App to bring it to the masses rather than just our funny little bubble of rugby that we still think's massive?
Yeah, look, from my point of view, I think rugby's got an issue at the top. And until that is solved, everything else will always be an issue. So we can keep doing what we're doing and putting players at the front cover and, bringing fans closer. But with the governance of the sport, and I think the one thing I've realised through my travels and obviously doing this, it's all relative. So the problems that the Welsh Rugby Union face are very relative to the problems that the Qatar Rugby Union face, which is very probably relative to the Spanish Rugby Union, right? So the problem is the game is still very old school at the top. The biggest problem I have is when you look across the pond and you look at NRL, and NRL will go into Vegas. We haven't even got MLR up and running properly in America, and we've got NRL going to Vegas and selling out stadiums and doing, tailgates, and you've got absolute superstars in the game. You've got packed out stadiums. You've got Russell Crowe doing a voiceover of just big hits and big boys getting smashed. And you're like, we can't show a big tackle because we're scared of a head case. And it's like, come on, lads. Like, we all know what we're here for. And then, I'm sure we'll talk about sevens later on as well, but it's the same. You've got an amazing game on the pitch and you've got an incredible festival and atmosphere, but the governance of it, the advertising of it, even their social media of it is definitely going in a certain way that isn't player friendly. But yeah, look, I think if you look at other sports, we're really doing something wrong, and we've just got such a big ego to think that we are better than everyone, but we're not doing anything about it. And if you look at Live Golf, if you look at the IPL in cricket, if you look at Baller League in the UK now, like there's so many blueprints there, and you just think, God, what are we doing to our sport? And then the flip side, you get the other extreme. You get the UFCs and the power slaps that are, Dana White is willing to come out and say what's good and what's bad and what's happening, and if there's a bad call, he's got no issue calling out a ref, and
even players going wrong as well. He's not afraid of calling out the ones that are actually doing it. That's the difference. Like, there's a certain element that people are too scared to upset people, especially in rugby. We run at people, men, women. We run at each other as hard as we physically can. If we then can't just deconstruct what went wrong or how we're going to move the sport forward, we're lost. It's not going to move forward. If you wanted to put a quick fix in now to rugby, what would your quick fix be to turn it on its head and put it in the limelight it could? Is there that one quick fix, in your opinion?
It's hard because for me, there's so many things, right? And it's highlighted by the fact that only a few months ago, we all got so excited because we're going to start putting player names on the back of the shirts, right? I always use the football analogies of when Ronaldo moved to Juventus. Ronaldo moved, and the next day in shirt sales, they covered the transfer fee.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if I want to buy a Marcus Smith jersey, do I get M Smith 10? Do I get M Smith 15? Do I get M Smith 23? There's so many little things like this. And then if you move to France, then all of a sudden number 23 is a reserve prop. And then, who do I get there? And there's a real lack of loyalty towards players, which then, how can I support a player, and how can I get kids to follow a superstar? And one of the reasons why I love the Henry Pollock hype train, I want everyone to get behind him as much as possible. And whether he plays on the Lions tour or not I think is irrelevant now. I think you just need to get him in front of as many people as possible, and you don't need to media train him. Just let him be himself, and just let people see these amazing characters we've got on the pitch. When you've got the 2003 England World Cup team getting rolled out to every corporate event and every podcast, and they're talking about the same stories, and it's like, what is a 15 or 21-year-old going to be interested in rugby when all of this is going on? So that's the biggest one for me. I just think, give the players the limelight. The game's brilliant on the pitch at the moment, and I think across the board, whether it's Premiership, Super Rugby, or the under-20s, it's all really good quality at the moment. Players are getting bigger, stronger, faster, more skillful. Yet all of a sudden, we're not allowed to put them on billboards, and we're not allowed to give them their image rights, and we're not allowed to help them build a brand and a business. So they're only ever one tackle away from being absolutely fucked.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, that's changed because you look back at all the highlights of old school rugby, and all it is big hits, people punching each other. Is rugby trying to dilute itself to try and fit in with the masses rather than embracing what it is?
Yeah, I can't remember who said it, so I'm not going to try and take credit for it. But someone once said, rugby's a game for everybody, but not for anybody, right? So, you can sit and appreciate it, but I'm the first to say, right, I haven't got it in me anymore. If you stand in front of me and want to run at me, I'm just going to move out of the way, right? I've not got that anymore, but I can appreciate watching you do that, right? So glorify that. And again, to use the boxing and UFC, no one sits there and says, oh, I don't want to get punched in the face, so get boxing off TV, right? You go into boxing knowing you're going to get punched, and if you don't understand that, don't do it. And then, go to a bare knuckle FC at the moment, and you got just this weekend it was the most brutal fights, and I'm sitting there going, we can't show big hits and tackles anymore, and yet all of a sudden I've got two people punching the hell out of each other and big contusions on their head and blood everywhere, and I'm like, this is great. I still think it's better than power slap, which is just another crazy one. But look, if you go back 20 odd years, rugby did try to do this, and I think this is the thing that we all forget. If you look at like the Wilkinson Beckham stuff, if that was nowadays, it would go absolutely viral, right? But we've lost that. And then in 1998, the French rugby team played the French football team. And there's videos online of like really old school videos of like Zidane scoring a try. And you're like, what? Imagine that now.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there and we're like, where was this back then? And when New Zealand did the old fake trick shot stuff, and the Brumby boys came out and did a fake barbecue one, like we have done it, and then all of a sudden it's gone away out of nowhere, and we're sitting there going, well, hold on a second, now's the perfect time to do this social content. So yeah, look, I honestly don't understand at what point it changed, but I think we've claimed we're this scientific sport, and we looked on, why we need to lower the tackle height, for example, based on concussions in a game that we then didn't change the tackle height on. So then all of a sudden we've just produced this mass negative media about something that has nothing to do with what we decided. And again, this is where I'll call it out. The problem's at the top. You've got people that used to play the game that are not in touch with the game nowadays, making decisions about a society they don't know. I used to, it's almost like my dad trying to give me housing advice when he bought a house next for nothing, and now he's telling me I need to go buy a house for £1 million when it's never going to happen. So I think the top's got a lot to answer for, and unfortunately, not enough people are willing to sit in front of them and say what needs to be said.
I think that also won't change as well, because the clubs are not in a financial position to stand out. I think if the clubs were able to commercialise and the players were able to sort of commercialise themselves, there would probably be a bit of a revolution potentially, but a lot of them are still having to go cap in hand to the likes of the RFU just to survive. Do you also think the players, there is not as many global superstars as there was back when Johnny was around and John Alumu and stuff like that?
I've got a couple of theories on this. I think one, it was a very different time, right? And I think that this is the story that doesn't get told. When Jonah Lomu was playing, yes, he was an absolute incredible athlete and a monster, but he was also playing against part-time people. So the gap was even bigger. And I think if you look at Wilco, even at that, the rest of the 10s at the time, he was just out. I mean, you can look at what happened afterwards. He went on to go win more and more afterwards. But I think the gap between the top players and the bottom, he's probably closer than ever before. And I think, like, if you look at the Premiership this year, I mean, some of the games in the Premiership have just been outstanding. And there's players on there that have had nowhere near international. Like, look at Gabsy Batoye for Bristol, right? Ollie Hassel-Collins at Leicester. Adam Radwan's another one. Like, you're talking about phenomenal athletes that are nowhere near the international stage yet, but they're still playing against international players.
Yeah.
So I just don't think we've got the marketing right for the game at all. We're talking about Georgia playing Ireland in Georgia. And, for us personally, get on a plane to Georgia, have a good time, see a new country, see a tier 1 team play a very good tier 2 team, right?
Yeah.
And a tier 1 team without their Lions boys now. You're talking about a very, very good match. Well, it's the same day as Lions versus Western Force.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden, from a media perspective, it's like, well, who do we cover? And even that, you look at, we're talking about England, right? When England played Japan last year, no one even wanted the TV deal.
Yeah.
So if no one's going to show the game, it don't matter what I do with the player. It's mad.
I don't think anyone's taken up the England-USA game either. I think it's over to Rugby Pass now as well, isn't it? That's a terrifying fact that even England can't sell rights.
Yeah, and again, if you look, there is models there that we can look at, right? So when UFC go to Australia, for example, they still put the matches on for the American time because they know that that's their main source of income, and they know they're willing to change it. And to give America its due, right? America is starting to change the broadcast to suit them. And we obviously spoke about the Indian Sevens League that's going to happen and how they've changed. I say changed, they've adapted the game to suit the market, right?
Yeah.
There's templates out there, but rugby's just like, no, we have to do it this way, and this is how it's always going to be. And it's like, fucking hell, lads. Like, you want to, I tell you what, we're starting to sound like these two old men now, sitting having a beer, moaning about the world of rugby, putting it to rights. But yeah, we want the game to do well, right? We want the game to succeed. Hence why I do what I do and you do what you do, right? And we're all pushing our case for it. But it takes an army of people now. And one of the things about All Things Rugby is we're trying to bring as many people together, whether it's content creators or podcasters or players, referees, coaches. And we're like, right, how do we all get together and prove that we can do this?
Because we were at the London City Sevens the other week as well, and we got speaking to a few different content creators, players within the game, people around the game. Obviously, we had the pleasure of speaking to Mike Friday as well, who's got a lot of opinions about world rugby and
he's got a lot Sevens. To say.
And what a bloke! And I've seen him all over Twitter over the weekend, and he was at another Sevens tournament, and just highlighting that rugby will end up shooting itself in the foot if we continue to just let decisions be made based on a certain few rather than what is actually needed. Rugby players, their career is even shorter than a footballer's career. You've got to make your money while you're there, otherwise you're never going to. And like it's the same in the women's sport as well, because the women's are actively having to do other jobs while also playing international rugby. And you think, how are we classing this as a professional sport if you've got international players having to fundraise potentially to go on their own tour?
Canada are playing against New Zealand. I wouldn't want to play New Zealand on my fittest, best day, right? Let alone then knowing that I've had to fundraise to get a flight over there. And I just think that one of the things about All Things Rugby from behind the curtain is how do we help rugby be sustainable? And one of my absolute pure goals here is to create a model where we end up being the white label. We're going to go to every single player and every single club, and we're going to say, here you go, let us help you. We're going to prove models of success, and we're just going to keep rolling it out. One of the things we're talking about now is how we build that network of players that we can start showing what we're doing, whether it's content creators or podcasters, anyone as a fan. We've all kind of got a responsibility to help join together to show the system how it's been done. And once we have a proven track record and enough evidence underneath us, man, you can't be denied. And that's the thing. That's why when we set up All Things Rugby, we made sure we did it all the right way, and we spoke to every shareholder and every rights holder. So whether that's the Premiership or the URC, we want to work directly with them. MLR, for example, we're now lucky enough to work with Will, the technical director, who's another great mind in rugby. And we're like, right, what can we do to support you? And even the players, when we were in London and we're chatting to the players, what can we do to help them directly? And sometimes that is biting your tongue, and whether you want to go watch your team play or not, you have to go buy a ticket and go watch it. And I think that's the important thing. And again, there is so many examples of it being done well. That, just this weekend, you had Bristol playing at Principality. I think they hit 45,000 or something. You had Quins playing at Twickenham, right? For another, I think they undersold compared to the Christmas game they did. But, you still got another 30,000. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there and you're like, Judgment Day, that had the top 4 Welsh teams, had no one in the stand and everyone talking to each other, like not even watching the rugby. So there's blueprints out there of how it can be done.
Yeah.
Yet, again, the ego and the arrogance of, we don't need the help.
The big events at like Twickenham that Harlequins obviously managed to put on, and Bristol obviously going across into Wales and into the Principality and proving that you can fill or part fill the Principality with a standard league game. Like the Judgment Day process has really lost itself. I went a few years ago, and again, the price point is brilliant. It's a great way of getting 2 good games of rugby in, but it's just lost itself. And then like, you got the WRU the other day cock swinging around saying that if you don't sign the contract by the Thursday, there's not going to be any more regions. And you think, hold on a minute, you just had to bail out one of the clubs because they were financially screwed, and now you're using an archaic business technique of actually that contract's going to, if we have to renegotiate that contract, it's going to be worse for us. So we're just going to throw hand grenades into everyone's lap until they sign, because we know if we got to renegotiate, what we've done to save that one region is going to end up shitting ourselves. So it's either you sign it or we'll say that the whole thing's going to fall apart. It just stinks of, and then you got them spending 50 grand on flowers. You think, hold on a minute. Don't release that information.
My favourite rugby quote this year, 50,000 on hospitality flowers. Yeah, look, I think that, again, one of the things about All Things Rugby is we're trying to grow the top and then watch the bottom grow because of that. And I think if you look at South Africa as an example, when you have a double World Cup winning team, your fans grow.
Yeah.
If your team is shit, no one's going to want to be there. It's as simple as that. So when everyone is saying, look, we need to grow the game and we start from the bottom and grassroots, look, of course, we've all been a part of Grassroots, and, you know, I wouldn't have got in the game unless I had a grassroots club to go to at the end of the day. But more people will go to a grassroots club if they've got someone to be a role model at the top.
Yeah.
And that's it. So instead of shunting the top people down all the time, and, you know, instead of putting them behind a wall saying, no, don't. I mean, Ireland's a prime example of this, right? The lack of media that Irish players do. How are you ever going to grow global superstars and give everyone else in the world someone to look at? We're just going to sit there and go, nah, arrogant, fuck this, don't want to talk to them. Fine. You know, we won't support you. And again, it happens all the time, you know, like, this tall poppy syndrome of, no one's bigger than the team, and, you know, no one's bigger than the jersey. And actually, the reason why so many people have left New Zealand and gone on sabbaticals and gone to play in Japan, because the jersey isn't worth it anymore. If the media are going to sit there and insult you week after week, why are you going to play for them? You know, and I think, like, look at Rico now going across to Leinster, and then all of a sudden you've got World Cup winner Stephen Donald on Sky Sports New Zealand on the breakdown saying, nah, the URC is not that good. Well, if that's your main media stream and you're putting down the players and the teams, why would I want to stay?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I actually think that, again, it is being done well some places. Australia, when Suaalii signed, every single broadcaster made him look like a superstar, and they were talking about him non-stop, and it was like, have you got Suaalii in your fantasy team, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, that's what you need. You know, you need everyone to get behind each other, and then you need every TV screen to show these incredible athletes that are giving everything, and then the game will grow, and then it will become more commercial, and then you'll get more people playing, and then you'll create a sustainable model. But the RFU did the opposite. The RFU went, I know what we'll do. We'll say we're going to focus on the bottom, but then we're going to cut all the funding for the bottom, and we're going to cut the community coaching, and we're going to change the laws based on something that happened at the top. And we're not going to show you the top, but we're going to tell you we're going to grow the game. You're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Do you think, as rugby people, we probably look for the negative a little bit too much, because that's just the narrative of rugby? We need to be a lot more positive, because kids don't want to play rugby, or parents don't want kids to play rugby, because all they hear about is kids getting knocked out and a lot of people head injuries and stuff. That wasn't addressed properly. That was really, really poorly addressed within rugby. You've then got, it's not played in schools because teachers don't understand the game. PE teachers aren't upskilled to understand the game. It's just easy to say, it's a little bit too violent in our eyes, we just won't play it. Or obviously they're trying with this new version of, is it T15? T1 or whatever, yeah. Problem is, if you've got players that come out of that bubble, are they being pushed towards a club to actually understand that there is a level of physicality, or are we just going to have a load of touch rugby, that's got its own bit, because I definitely can't dive anywhere. I can't move that quick. When you see these clips of these players that are diving through people's legs to score tries, and I'm like, I think I pull my hamstring just watching it, let alone actually physically doing it. So there's
in front row.
Yeah, there's definitely ways. There's more than one way of skinning a cat within the game, and we know that there's ways of it. Back to it though, are we too negative as a sport? Potentially.
I don't mind if it's matched with a solution.
Yes.
That's my biggest thing, right? Anyone can be a problem pointer. Do something about it.
Yeah.
Like, and this is the biggest thing, right? Like, I've been a rugby fan since, as I said, watching it on TV and thinking, cool, this is incredible. And then first time I got a ball, and first time I got smashed and flew through the air backwards, let alone hitting someone myself, right? Like, and all the other things that come with it, and the tours and the socials. Look, we love all of that, but I have no issue saying here's a problem, but then offer a solution for it. And again, like we were there 2 years ago before we started All Things Rugby. We sat there and we're like, man, this is shit and that's shit, and we were like, right, fuck it, here we go. Let's do something about it, and let's do things the right way, and let's do it how, as fans, we want to consume it. And when we speak to players, the first thing I say is, look, as a player, what can I do to help you? Or if this was especially when we speak to ex-players, if you were still playing, how would you like this to now be? And that's the business model for us, you know. We're not trying to do anything different. We're not trying to do anything new. We're just taking good ideas and bringing them together and applying them to rugby. And we're just asking people in rugby what they want and giving it to them. And whether that is, you know, new games to play, or whether that's a new way of engaging with players, or whether that's different highlight videos, whatever it is, we want to be a solution for it. So yes, look, I do think as a society, naturally, especially British culture, we love a little sappuccino, right? Fine.
Yeah.
But then offer a solution. When there is that solution, you can make your own mind up. You know, I don't watch F1. I do not enjoy watching cars go around the track over and over again, right? And I think even watching it live is even worse, because I'm not even watching the whole thing. I'm just watching one corner. And before you know it, it's they're gone. Okay, so I'm not going to go and watch F1 and sit there moaning about it.
Yeah.
Simple, isn't it? I'll go and watch something I do like. So I just think as long as there's a solution with it, great. We have a responsibility to highlight and educate people on this. You know, and I think, as I said, everyone will have their gap in the market for it, which is why collaboration works. You know, I think, and you've seen on the group of content creators and editors that we've put together, we're encouraging everyone to chat. And I know, obviously, you spoke to Steve Noble, and I know you were on Hugh Griffin's podcast, and Hugh's just had Ben Jaycock, who works at a rugby paper, on. And we're sitting there going, great, if we can be part of the solution with that and bring more people together and have better conversations about it and bring new audiences to it, we're doing our bit.
Yeah.
So I don't mind calling an old 70-year-old man out of why I don't think he should be in the sport anymore.
Rugby is potentially being held back because a few of the lads are obviously saying that they've got young families, so weekends are precious. Like the availability to play a Friday night game, Thursday night game, midweek game, stuff like that. Rather than having a training session on a Tuesday night, if there's a pitch available, potentially play the game early. And we were sort of discussing that a lot of it's safeguarded by the old guard that live and die by a league lunch. Their life is run by league lunch, and they can't move on from that league lunch, which is brilliant. But league lunches are dying within rugby, and potentially going to be the death of certain parts of the game, because if you can't move a league lunch because some old boy can't get out, we still want you to be part of the game, but also you've got to move on with the people that are actually playing the game. There is no game to play if there's not lads being able to turn up and play it. And it's until we get out of that bubble thinking it's got to be 2:00 on a Saturday in in September, and 2:00 in October and stuff. And then, we might move it forward a little bit if there's a Six Nations game on, so you can go and sit in the bar and watch it. Lads don't want to sit in the bar. If they can get a ticket, they want to go and watch it live. This is a live sport opportunity for everyone that loves rugby. there is nothing better than going watching it in a stadium with your mates, with 4 or 5 pints sat there ready, and then you're watching the elite level of our game run at each other, doing things that you don't even think is possible with a ball. And you think, that's all right, I'm going to play against Fareham Heathens or whatever at 2 o'clock, rush myself through to get a cold shower because nobody's turned the heating on, to then get in a bar to sit down and watch it when you can't see it because all the old guard have already been there before. So you sat at the back, you can't watch it, you can't see it, you can't have the audio on because everyone's chatting anyway. And you're like, this is not how rugby should be watched. Rugby is a live sport. It is better live. There's no argument about that, I don't think.
I'd say TNT are doing a very good job on their broadcasting. Look, I think there's 2 parts here. I'm probably going to piss off everyone over the age of 35 now. I think the culture around vets in clubs needs to be challenged. You know, I think when vets are running a club, this is grassroots level I'm talking about, but when vets are running a club and making decisions on everything that happens, and, you know, sometimes they're not even paying their own subs. They've got their own little kitty that they work from and this, that, and the other. And that's unanimous across the globe. Everywhere I've been, I've heard the same shit. Look, I'm going to give football its credit. This might be the only time I ever give football credit. Match of the day on a Saturday night, right? If you think about every rugby match happening on a Saturday, well, they're missing their game. They're missing their team. So if the bulk of the teams are playing on a Saturday at the same time as you have to play your match, how'd you watch it? Yeah. And there was an incident, I think it was the beginning of the year, where the highlights, both the Prem and the URC, when they use their AI highlight generator, wasn't even showing the highlights, you know. And then you've got 4 different TV subscriptions you need to get to watch the game and stuff. So, you know, it killed it. And actually, match of the day was 10 p.m. I've had my takeaway. Everyone's watched their Top of the Pops and Take Me Out and all the other shit they were watching.
Got the news.
And now we're going to
news out of the way, and that's it.
Now we're going to sit down and we're going to watch the highlight. And we're going to watch a very good in-depth analysis show of real. And, you know, I think even Sky Sports, what they did with, you know, Carragher and Neville, really, really changed the game with analysis. And look, we're getting there, right? I think TNT are doing a fantastic job for the Autumn Nations. And I think we noticed it more in the Six Nations of the drop in quality when it went back to BBC and ITV, right? And I'm all for having some rugby on free TV, fine. But then let's get some decent superstars on there to talk about it and watch it and analyse it. And all due respect, if I've got Clive Woodward and Martin Johnson talking about back in their day one more fucking time, I'm going to turn off, you know? Like, rugby is too big of a sport to fail, but we're doing a pretty good fucking job of it, you know? Like, and that's where All Things Rugby comes in. That's where your podcast comes in. That's where new media comes in. That's where new content creators and social media people come in. And that's what we're looking for. You know, I remember Soccer AM on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest goals of ATR is to recreate Soccer AM for rugby. And we're going to push the fucking boundary on the content that, call it woke society or whatever, but, you know, we're going to really push where politically correct is and have some fun with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, a comedian doesn't have to apologize for every joke because they're a comedian, and we're going to be a good, fun rugby show that makes people want to watch and tune into rugby. And that, again, that's the difference, you know. I think that people got so scared of showing a big hit or a concussion, they weren't showing the replay of something we wanted to watch. Meanwhile, UFC have knockout of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm just, and I keep saying UFC, but NRL show a prop on the back fence, and off kickoff, they zoom in on him. Them videos of Sam Burgess back in the day, just absolutely running it straight. And you're like, this is great. This is what I want to watch. Yeah. This makes me go, I'll tell you what, there is an art to this absolute animal warfare. Yeah, look, I think in club, there's so much we can do as a clubhouse. Grassroots, you know, I mean, you're around grassroots way more than I am to know the kind of, there's way more of a commercial model we can do there. But I think even at the top, I think we can look across. A couple of years ago, last one I'm ranting, Ryan Wilson was on Prem Sport.
Yeah.
And I think it must have been the first year he stepped away. And he mic'd up and he did the warm-up with Glasgow.
Brilliant.
And I was like, this is the fucking best pre-match content I've seen. And he's holding a bag and all you can hear is oof, and then even at the final, he went on a session afterwards with them and I'm like, that's great. That's the best content I want to see, you know? And look, we joke about it, right? Like we were joking earlier about like the camera setup, the microphone, the audio, the lights. Like it's important that if we're going to push media out there, we have a responsibility to make it good quality content.
Correct.
And I just think when ITV have got an advert every 2 minutes and it's the same boring chat, it's like, that's not what I want to watch. You know, and everyone's going to talk about the Netflix documentary. Season 2 might have been some of the worst sport television ever. Yet, Living with the Lions was our original sporting documentary.
Yeah.
So how have we got it so right so long ago, and then yet when it is available to us, we get it wrong?
I think that's us trying to accommodate to a new audience. What the Netflix documentary tried to do was try to open it up to a new genre of people, which will only dot in for the Netflix documentary. They're not interested in the rest of it. They'll dot in for that because it's made more like a Love Island-esque model rather than actually this is what performance sport is based on. There's a bit more dramatized to it, and you're going to turn certain rugby fans off to it, and then you're also going to bring certain people back in for that documentary, but that's as far as it will go. They're not going to suddenly bend over backwards to go and watch a game.
I don't know. I think I sent you the link of the Chicago Hounds documentary. Episode 1, coach gets fired.
Yeah.
And they film the whole thing and they film him talking to the players and he's crying. And you're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm watching the whole thing now. Like, so it can be done.
It's slowly happening. Rugby, that you're allowed behind the doors, that you now sort of see inside the changing room, that all these celebrations with the Moana Pacifica lads beating up a dustbin, and obviously the Shoe Army in the Saints. There's all the different bits that we're slowly starting to see that behind the scenes element of rugby. But until we can potentially break that barrier down and see behind the scenes properly, rugby will still feel like it's got a ring fence around it and nobody else is allowed to see what happens.
Look, I know people say rugby is a complicated sport, right? But once you know it, you know it. Yeah. The chances that there's going to be a pod of 3 with a lead man and a man out back, right? And then outside of that, if it goes out back, you might have 2 runners with another man out back.
Yeah.
And you might put a hooker on one side and a 6 on the other ready for a crossfield kick, right? We're not doing anything magical, right? No. I don't understand this whole, we're not gonna let him in for tactic. I mean, if I'm playing against Bottia and I know he's an absolute monster, or if I know Jack Willis is a great turnover machine, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do: not run the ball near him. It's not rocket science, is it? Like, what are you giving away? And I just think that it's rugby hurting itself. Like, people didn't buy into it. I don't understand. Like Eddie Jones.
Oh, that would have made brilliant telly.
Just mic him up the whole time. Like, just mic him up the whole time. And just let him be him. Don't tell him what he can't. Man, it was the last World Cup, wasn't it? I think, I can't remember who Wales were playing. It might have even been the Aussie group game. But they tried to run it at the end of the first half. And Bigger, like, just went, get the fucking ball out.
Yes.
And they tried to have a go at him for swearing. You're like, No. If you're running the ball and you're winning at half time, you need to get in the shed. Kick the fucking ball out. Like, I don't understand how, on one hand, as I said, we did get it right. Yeah. All or Nothing, the All Black one, was one of the best sporting documentaries at the time, especially for rugby, right? And then if you look at, as I said, Living with Light. Yeah, the South Africans, listen, Chasing the Sun 1 and 2, and but even Rassie's podcast, right? Like,
nailed it.
He's nailed it. But again, you've got a winning team. Yeah. So you can do it. You know? Like, we always talk about here, right? Obviously with the URC, you've got these massive 6'10" locks, sometimes flying economy, to go play in Wales in a park somewhere, right, with one man and his dog watching the game, ask him what he thinks about that, and let him fucking say it. Let him say it. Quote it up and get it everywhere. You know, like have some fun with it as well. We joke about like the WWE style of drama, right?
Yeah.
But UFC embrace that.
Yeah.
Have a face-off. Let them talk smack to each other. You know they're going to shake hands at the beginning, they're going to hug at the end, but in the middle, they're going to try and kill each other. I'm all right with that. I'm all right with them facing off with each other and just absolutely having a go. Great. Get both front rows calling each other out. I'd love that.
There's been a few times that they've managed to actually mic players up during games, which I think's added a really good aspect to the game. But it's not done enough. Like football did it for a period as well, where you used to have player cam. You used to be able to follow your favourite player. You could select it on Sky Sports, I think it was, and you had the red button. You could pick to follow whoever. We don't have that, but there's one basic coaching technique for anyone that coaches under 16s, etc., mini youth rugby. You tell them to go away and watch a player in that position. Find enough clips and highlights for a player in that position that, from the point of view or anything like that, that they can then learn and understand. There's not enough of it either. And I think that would really help the development of players. Obviously, there's a conveyor belt of top quality athletes coming through. But imagine that if you could actually coach players from a start, from this is how this position is. Because we try to bring everyone into the game because they've either got too fat for football or they're too old for that or they're not built to do anything else. But rugby, we will embrace them. But they'll turn up to training and we're like, oh, can you play Saturday? Oh, yeah, I've got some boots. Oh, there you go, you play 12. Or you'll play on the wing because it's the easiest position in the game. Because like if you catch the ball, you just got to fucking run. Like, and then you slowly start teaching.
You've never played 12, have you?
Yeah, I used to play 12. I played on the wing as well before.
Just catch and run, or I'm gonna get some 12s to come and listen to this podcast and let you know.
Oh no, I said winger. Wingers catch and run. 12.
Even that.
There's a little bit more. Nah, wingers there's nothing really to it, is it?
But this is it, right? I think if you empowered the players to say, here, look, we want to do some content, right? And we want you to talk about that. And I think a real good one to kind of look at from a model point of view is Luke Trahan, former Welsh Sevens player. He runs This Is Sevens. He's out playing 15s now in Hong Kong for Valley. Man, he's mic'd up. He's filmed games. He's shown it. Max Brown, another one, just a content creator playing, and he's playing Warsaw. So I don't even know what, maybe level 3, level 4.
Yeah, and decent level.
He's showing his games and he's talking. You know, like if you empower people to do it, they'll do it. But you haven't even given them the option to do it. And I just think that's where, you know, for us specifically, we're just going to keep proving our model. And whether that is London City Sevens or whether that's Rugby Europe Championship or whether that's, you know, whatever tournament want us to come and have a look and come up with some good content and some new ideas and talk to the players and get some new type of media, man, we'll do it. And then we'll just keep rolling it out. And then at some point, there'll be enough people doing it, that whether it's the Prem or the URC or Super or whoever, they'll become the anomaly.
Agreed. I think we've also touched on it briefly with the Baller League. I think the way that people consume content and consume games is in a completely different manner now. Obviously, what was it on Baller League? The first episode or the first week, they had however many streaming rather than actually watching it on Sky Sports. Like, how many actual streamers of rugby are there to add that layer over the top? Because as you said, like TNT are doing brilliant. They're doing a really, really good effort. Obviously, got David Flatman out there, like David Attenborough around the scrums. He's like he does his own little bit, and I love that bit as a front rower. And there's people that do, but there's probably other people that aren't that fussed because they're not that way inclined. When Will Greenwood gets to stand in front of a screen and do a similar sort of model to Gary Neville and stuff like that, brilliant. That's another good bit of content for people to understand. What was it on the NFL? They had a VR headset from one of the quarterbacks, basically saying, I'd have picked this decision because of this, this, and this. That's another exceptional bit. Why can't, if they could do it for this one, why can't we do it for rugby? Why can't, and we keep going back to the 2003, but the 2003 team are the last success that we had in England at that top level. We've had some very close close run things, but people still cling on to that World Cup win. And then, unless we potentially break that duck or celebrate the teams that have got close enough to replicating where that was, they will continue to be brought back out. Like we bumped into Ben Cohen the other day, didn't we, on the London City Sevens? And there are some really, really good lads within the 2003 team that could probably add further content, but they don't get asked the question as well. So we've still got a rugby values is we've still got to cling on to that history, but we've got to replace that success model of the 2003 team with winning another World Cup or celebrate the ones that have got to the World Cup final in 2019 or whenever it was.
English rugby specifically,
yeah,
right, has got a bigger issue than that, because when you do have great players and teams, they want to knock them down. And I just think like Marla, mate, the disrespect of Owen Farrell. Owen Farrell is one of the best English rugby players of all time, and I will fight anyone that wants to disagree with it, right? From a points point of view, an appearance point of view, a captaincy point of view, him, who he is, his willingness to put a body on the line, championships with England, championships with Saracens, and we're like, nah, everyone wants to shit on him. Of course he doesn't want to do media.
Yeah.
You know, and if it wasn't, George Ford was playing fantastic. Well, Faz was playing great, but we wanted George Ford. George Ford come in and play great, but we wanted Marcus Smith. Marcus Smith was playing great. Then we wanted Finn Smith. Finn Smith's playing great. Oh, who do we want next? It's like this revolving door. Wingers in England's been the same. Wingers have come and gone, and we've just like, oh, they're the best thing since sliced bread. And before you know it, we're willing to chop them down if they don't score. And I just think that we're too quick to hate on our own, you know. And I just think that that's where we need everyone going, nah, fuck this. These are superstars, and everyone needs to say the same. And look, one of the reasons why I think Itoji's should and will go down as one of the best to do it in England, right? Man, he stands there and he's himself. And if you put him in front of an older crowd, he can adapt. If you put him in front of the young crowd, he can adapt. You put him Sarri's captain, he'll be the best player on the pitch. You put him England captain, he'll play 80 and he'll be the best player on the pitch. You put him Lions captain and he's going to be man of the series. You know, like, everyone now needs to get behind him and be like, Itoji is the best thing in the world at the moment. That's what we need to be saying. You know, like, and that's where, as I said, English media is, I mean, we've seen it in football time after time, right? But it needs to change. And again, that's where I think that we can, as content creators, influencers, social media people, whatever, right? We can say what we need to say. It doesn't always have to be shiny. But when something is good, give it its due. And you know, like, when it isn't good, if you can make some fun out of it, like, look, I'm the biggest one, right? If there's anything anti-Leinster, anti-Saracens, or anti-Crusaders, I'm the first one to put it up, right? But at the same time, man, when Sarries used to beat Quins all the time, I'm the first to applaud my hands, and Crusaders are having a great season at the moment compared to last. Great. You know, I loved it last year when they weren't, but I'm going to say well done. And if Leinster do manage to win a trophy, I will say they are the best team in the world at the moment. But, you know, we're just so willing to go, like, oh, what's the next thing, and chop down the person at the top. And, you know, and I think that's where, as I said, the British media really needs to check themselves, and we need to call them out on it. You know, TNT Sport, they did it the other day. Obviously, you're talking about flats in the scrum. They actually had Brian O'Driscoll on the side it was a Sunday night game at Exeter, and there was a scrum set up, and he was talking about the positioning of how to, you know, attack from a scrum. Great.
Yeah.
So as a young person watching that's kind of what we need to see, and man, get it all over socials and keep blowing it up and stuff.
What was the program they used to have? Was it the rugby show or something? They used to have it on like a Wednesday or Thursday night, and they used to have
Austin.
them on Austin, and they had them come on as guests, and they'd like get local grassroots clubs go up and they'd put them in the positions and be able to talk through technique. That kind of
But
died off.
it needs more fun.
Exactly. Like it probably died off because of boredom. But that is a great platform to showcase that. Because I rolled it out a few times when we had we said, right, lads, we're just going to go and do a video room. And I was like, right, we need to, this is what we're trying to target. And I'd dig it out of the old YouTube archives. And the lads were like, God, that looks old. But I understand now because I can see it. Like, we need to find a modern way of saying, well, actually, it doesn't have to be done in a studio. They could go to all these Premiership clubs and say, right, I want to run this line out technique. Can we record you guys doing it so that we can show to the grassroots players or the kids that want to come through and idolise you and showcase it? And then you can, that's another way to get it behind the scenes, but without getting behind the scenes. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not giving away all their secrets. We just got to be more
creative. We just have to be more creative with it. And again, I think that, you know, to give rugby its due, and I've said this, we've approached everyone, including World Rugby directly, and they are open to working with third parties now like never before. My question was always then, well, why weren't they doing it? You know, so look, good for us. I'm happy for us to do it. Don't get me wrong, but we've missed a big opportunity. That 2019 team for England, they should have been in the limelight way more, and we just don't get it. And look, I think the good thing is you're seeing a lot of ex-players now kind of move to media more recently, right? Like Danny Care's on commentary and he's still playing all the time, you know. And when you watch Good Bad Rugby and Johnny May comes on or Courtney Laws comes on, and even you know, Ben Youngs and Dan Cole, like doing it and still playing is great. We are moving in the right direction. Is it at the speed we want? No, naturally we want it yesterday, but there's lots of good things happening. And I just hope that everyone can do it and the rest of the world can, you know, start picking it up. Japan rugby, for example, there's so much good stuff happening in Japan, but not enough content going out about it. No real shows about it going on. No superstars coming out. So, of course, you're not going to see it unless you go to find it.
Do you think I know Premier Sports have done it. They've done a 24-hour rugby channel. Do you think we, as a sport, miss out on that opportunity? There's pretty much, you click on Sky Sports or anything else, there's a continual football channel, there's a continual tennis channel, there's a continual whatever.
Again, from speaking from someone who's now doing it, the governing bodies are more willing to help you spread this, right? So, for example, Premiership today, I've messaged Premiership for some highlights to share on our social channels to get it to more people. Yeah. The key is then to make sure for us that we're not just regurgitating the same thing that's already been out. Let's find new stuff to put out. Let's find new players to talk about. Let's find a new way of presenting it, whether it's more funny or with more graphics. And, you know, I think that TV is one thing. Like, TVs are just one area of it. Socials is completely other. So whether that is YouTube, like, man, look at Squidge, for example, right? The fact that we all call him Squidge, and there's a character that we think we know, and actually there's a guy there who's a rugby fan called Robbie who's built his channel up. And, you know, a couple of years ago in the World Cup when Wayne Barnes put the, can't remember what player it was, but he gave a yellow card and a player shook his hand afterwards. He retweeted it and World Rugby took it down. And I think from that, the backlash on that, people were like, actually, hold on a second, we're fighting ourselves here. So, look, it comes down to people like us. You know, we need to make sure that we're putting out more and we're sharing our network and we're trying to not just target each other's fans.
Demographics,
right? Yeah. Because otherwise, if it's the same rugby person that sees it on Prem Sport, then they sit on World Rugby, then they sit on yours, then they sit on my... Well, we haven't won. Like, for example, what you're doing through the leagues, the way you do grassroots. Well, if I start doing that, you should be the first person to call me up and be like, oi, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like, I should be supporting you and helping you with that. And then likewise, if I go after a demographic, you come and support me with that. And the more we do that with each other, the better. But the moment it just becomes this copycat shit, what's the point?
Yeah. There's enough to go around. There's so much rugby out there that everyone can see and everyone can have their own niche, and it's not even sticking to one niche, just people of there's different bits of rugby that people get exclusive on that others won't. But it's a way of showing the game and growing the game. People seeing it and more eyes seeing it is only a positive for the sport. And I think streaming's potentially one of those doors that it's got to be looked at, and having an overlap of games. Like we've discussed it previously as well. I think there's probably that platform. Like Rugby Europe was a great experience for us to sort of get together on that and get the door open. I think the next Rugby Europe Championships we'll have an even bigger opportunity there, because we went and experienced the first vibe of it, because he called me about 3 weeks before it started, didn't we? And we were in amongst it, and I think a lot of players have really embraced it, and clubs, and obviously we still speak with the Spanish team, we still speak with Portugal, Georgia. I got Mario's coming on from the Spanish side, and there's a lot of players that have dropped me a message and probably dropped you guys a message as well. It was just a thank you for showcasing rugby, that Rugby Europe, like obviously the Germany, like I'd done the interview with Sean Ingle the other day. Rugby Deutschland were just more than happy just to share stuff, because it was showcasing Germany rugby, and just like the door is open for us to be able to showcase that. And we might not be able to get to every game, but there's a way of, as you said, putting a pre-match in, or like staggered ways into the lead up to the game. Like this weekend, Bulgaria were playing. You got Latvia versus Finland. Like people won't have even known that's on unless you're part of it. And like if you could add a stream and a way of commentating over the Rugby Europe commentary is really, really, really good. But you don't see them. There's not at half time. You're just watching an empty pitch. There's the lead up staggered. I think, like obviously Justin Middleton was supposed to come on, and he will be coming on later on. That he's a really, really good commentator, and his knowledge and his prep for the game is second to none from what I've seen. But that's not showcased as well, because as you said, we showed the other day a camera on the commentary booth. The player, those lads just jumping up and down, and like.
So I reached out to him, and even stuff like this, right? So his name's Gabriel, and he works for Utah Warriors, right?
Yeah.
So we reached out to him, and I said, right, firstly, I love this. I fucking love this. So thank you for putting it out. Secondly, if I can reshare any of this, fantastic. Let me know.
Yeah.
And thirdly, how do we do more?
Yeah.
So whether that's with you, or whether that's with Utah, or whether that's with the MLR, let's do it. And I love stuff like that, you know. Like, I'm like, right, how do we do more of it? And look, I think streaming is a really interesting one. So Tim, who runs the Egg Chasers channel, right, works on TalkSport. He had the same amount of people on his British and Irish Lions stream as the British and Irish Lions channel.
Yeah.
So it's there, you know. And at the same time, Love of Rugby did it live, and at the same time, Squidge did it live. And I'm like, right, how do we create more opportunities for us to do? And maybe it is me and you jumping on with a 6-pack of beer and just playing rugby bingo, right?
Yeah.
And every time there's a scrum penalty, I'm going to do a shot. And every time there's a drop goal, you're going to do one, right? Like, and maybe we do just push the boat out and stuff like that. And, you know, when we chat to Juan and he's talking about his experience with esports, for example, why don't we look at esports and go, well, hold on a second, there's a blueprint here. But even Paramount have just had David Beckham on watching the game, and they filmed David Beckham watching it.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to do well because it's David Beckham. Great. How do we start? You know, and I just think that if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? So, you know, next time Spain are playing, I'm guessing we're going to have a beer and a camera.
And but the thing is, there's also the fans element as well, because like, going back to the Soccer AM stuff, there used to be where they used to lock two rival teams in.
From each, brilliant.
Sat on sofas opposite, and then they'll be commentating through the game. They'd have that angle, and then you'd have that, and then they even threw a hand grenade in and said, right, this week we're going to do it silent. And like, if your team scores, you can't make a noise and stuff like. I just see, and then there'll be one geezer just jumped up, and then another one's falling over each other. It's all. Imagine that. That's in football. You might not get a single goal in football, whereas rugby, if you get a 0-0 draw in rugby, that is a proper rugby purist game. That is like
not
the
for me, probably for you.
That's the ultimate Norse level. But like, there's gonna be those chances for a celebration, a missed drop goal, there's a missed kick, there's all that jeopardy. Imagine having 2 sets of fans sat in a room with a camera and either told you can't make any noise when your team. Just add that value of there's a whole different way of doing rugby, and there's so many brilliant content creators out there as well that are doing different ways. Obviously, we met the counter ruck team doing that. They do the fit check and stuff like that. Football's got a terrorist culture of your CP company, your Stone Island, stuff like that. Imagine if we did a spoof version of, oh, where did you get your gilet from and stuff like that. There's the rugby. Rugby's got to look at itself lightheartedly as well, because we are shit at dressing as well.
Mate, I've got a call in a couple of hours with Archie Curzon.
Yes.
Right? #1 rugby troll. I love it. And look, I think when you watch Soccer AM and you're like, you had good interviews, you had real good guests, you had features of going around the grounds, something again we're looking to do. You had nutmeg files, you had skill school, you had crossbar challenge, you had a new shirt, you had some spoof stuff. Mate, we are, if anyone listening wants to come and sponsor this, then by all means. But I'm
fans in the car park.
Yeah,
fans coming to live studio, being in the car park on their way to a game. They'd stop in and then just shank things over the car park because they couldn't kick, but they were there and just creating something in front of it.
I'm telling you, you can quote down this this next bit. ATR will do it.
I
promise you, it'll be great. Yeah, man. And listen, I said this to you from day one. Like, it's for us. Look, going back to the whole collaboration thing, right? If you win, I win, right? If Max Brown gets more people watching rugby and I'm running a rugby platform, more people will find me. If TNT are doing a better job at broadcasting rugby, more people want to watch rugby, which means more people need places to go for rugby news. And I have that. So, likewise, if I get more fans into the game and All Things Rugby gets more fans into the game and Offload Media gets more players being commercial and getting them out, we all win. So as long as we're all working together, rugby will win. And that's the biggest thing. That's my little heartfelt moment.
Rugby is the winner, as we say. But wow, I think we've nailed pretty much every aspect of it at the minute. So
we've saved
ATR.
Rugby.
We've saved it all in one podcast. That's it. Nobody needs to carry on. What is the end goal for ATR as well, and obviously the Rugby App, because we talk about a lot of it behind the scenes. We know what's going on, and the angle that the Rugby App can offer. What is the end goal for the ATR and the Rugby App set up to change the way that rugby is conceived and utilised within society?
So, All Things Rugby, firstly, will be the #1 no bullshit place to go. If you want real news, if you want real media, if you want real interviews, and if you want real conversation, we will be the #1 place to go. And from the Rugby App point of view, we will give you a second screen experience like none other. Like, so whether you're in a stadium and you need to get around the stadium and play little activations and, get some vouchers to go to the shop or have beer tokens through the app or vote for your man of the match, whether you want to check some stats at halftime or your digital program, or whether you're in the pub and you want to argue whether Marcus Smith is better than Finn Smith, that's what the Rugby App's there for. We want to bring a completely new way you consume rugby, both at matches and outside. And as I said, when we talk about growing the game, we will do everything we can to grow the game from the top, because we think if you grow the top, the bottom will grow. So how do we help rugby as a whole? We help the players. We're going to help commercialize the players. We're going to help players become their own brands. We're going to help clubs be more sustainable. We're going to help the business side of rugby. And in that way, we can have more opportunity to help fans. And if we help fans, again, that helps the clubs and just make it a better experience for everyone, both the fans, the athletes, and the shareholders.
Yeah, phenomenal. Obviously, we've got the sevens. We can't avoid sevens. So we've got World Rugby actively trying to fucking ruin the game. Is probably the safest way to put that conversation. The Indian Rugby 7 series potentially being on pause with the current tensions over there, however that may play out. But as you said earlier, they've changed the face of sevens. And we obviously, I caught up with Mike Friday the other week, and he's got a lot of opinions of how the game will probably be killed off by the current change in the sevens. London City Sevens obviously trying to fill that gap, as we were discussing as well. How do you see the sevens circuit currently and in the future? Because it can't continue the way that it's just had that hand grenade, I think.
Yeah, look, again, it's an unsustainable product, which is why they then decided to make a change, and we don't necessarily agree with the changes, and I don't think many people do. But now that they've made it, it's then right, how do we offer an alternative? So look, if you take a team like Kenya off the top circuit, the Kenyan fans go and fill Kenyan corner. So then your biggest vibe in the stadium is now no longer there, which means your in-person product actually isn't your in-person product anymore. No. Look, I've been lucky enough to go to Dubai Sevens for a number of years, and as an event, it is phenomenal. You know, you have rugby on the main pitch, and then you have 7 other pitches going on. You have a CrossFit event going on. You have a cricket event going on. You have a paddle tournament going on. You had Sugar Babes on Saturday night and Stormzy on Sunday night. It was just, you know, it's an incredible event. Show why you should go to a sevens event, and show why you should want to play sevens to be part of an event like that. And unfortunately, the current model for commercial TV doesn't work. 3 days doesn't work. 2 days of 8-hour streaming doesn't work. You know, if I put on sevens and you've hyped it up, so again, like you spend all week pushing the event, and then the first thing you see on TV is an empty stadium. Before I watch the game, I'm going to question it because I'm seeing an empty stadium. If it was that good, wouldn't it be full? So, and that's where the Indian model of, okay, we're going to do a 2-week event, and actually we're going to do 2 games every night. So it's an hour broadcast. Fantastic. Game, rest, game, go. Marquee players, fantastic. Show it everywhere. But make sure the broadcast is good. Make sure the commentators is good. I think that they've got an opportunity there to do something pretty special, right?
Yeah.
In terms of then the main circuit, there's always been a lack of opportunity to compete. Because there's, and again, I do understand the frustration for World Rugby, right? There's so many teams now with men's and women's, and then I think that when they pushed up to 12, right? That's a lot of expense putting out for then a non-commercial product coming in. So their idea is like, let's limit it. Let's make sure we get a commercial, and then we'll go from there. What London City Sevens has got the opportunity to do, and I think great one to chat to, get Dan James on the podcast and talk to him about. If you have this, because again, World Rugby only announced 3 Division 2 competitions as such, right? If you have this second tier competition that is strong enough that if I am New Zealand, right, and I've got a squad of 30 potential sevens players, but I can only play 12, well, give me an opportunity to send another 12 somewhere else. Yeah. And then if you say to the clubs, like they did with Quins and Saris, actually, here's an opportunity to play players that aren't necessarily getting enough game time. And, you know, you're talking about like the Lennoxes and the Archie Whites who played, you know, a couple of weekends ago, who both played Premiership. You know? So you're sitting there and you're like, right, well, they'll step up. And then if you have invitational teams like the Scimitars and the Apaches that are full sevens training teams and they play the circuit, well, the standard of competition is going to be so good that you're giving more people an opportunity to play. Why not? And I just think that even the advertising of sevens has been wrong. Like, you know, you have to show it for what it is. It's an amazing weekend away.
Yeah.
So show me the weekend. Show me where I can go. Help me book my flight. Help me book my place to stay. Show me places I can go afterwards. Put music on at the same time. You've got to think a little bit more as an event now. And again, I think this is where Formula One took that next step. And Formula One has absolutely smashed it out the park. I'm not saying copy it, but there's a blueprint.
Yeah.
Get music acts. Get celebrities. Get TV. Have fun with it. And
cricket have pretty much got it. Well, the T20, the 100, the 100's got a lot of issues still, but my boys, they're obviously, as you know, they're 7 and 5, and we used to go T20 and we would go to the 100, and my missus is not that interested in the sport, but the music on at half time or in between the intervals and stuff was the bit that made it more. There's fireworks, there's all these other bits, there's so many other bits that we could add to that spectacle, as you said. And I think that's probably where the Indian Sevens circuit will be able to stand out from it, because 8 hours of continual sevens, unless you're a rugby nose, is fucking hard work.
Yeah, it's even a lot for us.
It's commercialised, mate. As we keep discussing, you can't keep pumping money into something if you can't commercialise it, and that's the hardest bit, I think, as well. I agree where you sort of come from, and we've obviously spoke about the sevens a few times, obviously with Juan and that as well. And how do you see it changing? Do you see World Rugby just having to outsource it, or somebody come in and step in and just create it as like keep the IPL model? Bring in another rival one, like a live golf one.
Look, competition will always drive excellence, right? That's one thing. I don't see that as a bad thing, whether that happens or not. I do think there is some good people involved. And as I said, I've been lucky enough to talk to the likes of Rob Vickerman, who obviously played enough and gets it, right? And he wants it to succeed. It's not anyone is sitting there saying we don't want this to work. But something has to change. And unfortunately, this whole as you said, 3 day of 2 8-hour shifts, man, that's no one's going to buy it on TV. And if you buy it on TV, no one's going to watch it. So they need to think about that. And I'm not saying that the 2-week model for the Indian League is going to be the way forward, right? Again, it's never been done. So we're going to find out some things. Surely there's a hybrid model. Yeah. You don't necessarily need sevens players only playing once, but I remember going to watch Premiership sevens and turning up to Stoop at 7 p.m. and being out of there by 9. Yeah. And all right, they might have played like the games, might have necessarily been 1 on, 1 off, 1 on, but is that the model? How do we make it more exciting? And at some point, someone turned around and went to Test cricket. Fuck you 5 days. Here's 20. Go and have a good 20 overs. And then someone went, here, fuck this. Give them a big bat, make the pitch small, and play Hong Kong sixes. Yeah. And even in golf, Tiger Woods has got this new little TV show with an indoor drive and then a little rotating putt, and great. Man, something has to change. And I just think that we've been so stuck in our way of this is how we do it that actually, why not? What have we got to lose? Yeah. And Rugby X, I would love to just have an alternate universe where COVID didn't happen for a number of reasons. But obviously, we get to see what would have happened with Rugby X. In a stadium, great. Don't worry about the weather. One evening, great. Easy to go to. Lights, cameras, music, atmosphere, smoke machines, one-on-ones. Man, Baller League, right? Yeah. And it wasn't like it was just any Tom, Dick and Harry playing. It was players from the circuit playing. So again, that's another one I'd love to understand. Like, maybe we need to get hold of Ben Ryan, have a chat with him as well. Because again, like that's a concept that even the one-on-one, we're sitting there going, one of the best things about rugby is just lining someone up and smoking them, right? Or watching two people go one-on-one that have got the footwork and the speed to get past each other. Man, what an amazing opportunity we had.
They've sort of started doing the run it straight stuff. There's been a few of them, and Nadolo was on there the other day, and I've seen some of it, and that runs a risk of the tackle technique is horrendous on there, and like, I know that there's an element of you've just got to run it straight, but if somebody's going to get seriously hurt if they carry on with that way that model is, in my opinion. Like, I'm all up for a big hit, all up for it, but at least like power slap's just fucking bonkers as well. Like, I get there's that whole level of, but you can't. Maybe there's a way of navigating that run it straight model without somebody potentially dying.
Yeah, and there actually is one already out there from Phoenix Sports, right? And I'll send it over to you. So
yeah, Phoenix
Sports then did a 1-on-1 challenge at different competitions. So whether it was a Sevens Festival or whatever, and they did it by weight category, right? So your lighter lads, your back threes, your light centers, your fly halves, they'd be 1-on-1, but they'd be trying to use footwork to get around each other. Yeah. And then obviously your bigger boys were looking for big hits, but kind of same mini grid. I mean, this run it straight is it's pretty much a cricket wicket, right? Like just, and I think I saw the first kind of head-on-head collision the other day, and it was pretty gnarly. But look, there is alternatives out there. Again, we need to get behind it. Former Namibian captain who used to play for Quins, Ronaldo Bofma, has got his own streaming platform now called Octafield, and he's showing it. And again, it's mainly in South Africa, but that's something that, again, like if you can get the highlights for it and start pushing, you can start pushing that model a little bit more. And then if you then say, right, we're going to have a Sevens competition, and at the Sevens competition, you can get in for this under 85 kilo 1-on-1 competition where you'd have to use footwork, and you start it that way. And then you actually go, right, for the bigger boys that are committing to doing good tackling, we'll do it. And if you put a high shot on your straight out, run it straight again, best out of 3, knock your opponent out, which is pretty pretty out there. But yeah, look, I think there is hybrid models. We don't have to go all the way to the left, and we don't have to go all the way to the right. You know, like we have to find what works in the middle and showcase that. And I think that's where, again, if you went for doesn't have to be under 85 kilo like kind of the rugby is, but if you went for more of a skill-based element where it's 1-on-1 and we're going to show you your footwork, for example, and then you did it like NFL do, like NBA do at the end of the season with the All-Star games and with the skills challenge, and you're stuff. Like, Pro Bowl, right? If I showed you the very first presentation I ever put together for All Things Rugby, Pro Bowl was on there, and I'm like, imagine getting Kurtley Aronsa and Colby in a 1-on-1 challenge, and as part of that, they have to do other stuff. Like little things like this. Like, we just haven't explored it yet in rugby, and now's the time. Like, you know, we're in a position where, like, we've just had a chat. There is a few things that aren't going fantastic, and everyone's now aware of them. Actually, what we need is a good pick-me-up, and something like this would be great. You know, drop kick challenges. Why wouldn't you take the best fly halves of the season and just do a drop kick challenge? Yeah. In New Zealand, they did the mascot race. It's my favourite bit of content I've seen all year, right? But imagine that if you took the top starting 10s in the Prem, and you did almost like penalty shootout, right? Heineken Cup style. Or you did a drop kick challenge and they build up points. And then at the end of it, you had a certain win for it. Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, right, you might have to tailor clubs to sign in. Got to get the clubs to sign into that as well. And that's
But why couldn't we start that with academy players at these clubs? Yeah. And then just, again, it's the proof of concept. Yeah. You know, and that's where, for us, I don't mind where we start it. I don't mind if it's London City Sevens or Rugby Europe Championship or Middlesex, you know? It don't matter. Let's do it. Let's learn from it. Let's make it better. Do that a few times. We have to be humble enough to go, we need to make this a product first, a commercial product. Yeah. And again, that's what ATR is about. One of our biggest things is we're going to prove we can do it to then roll it out.
Exciting times ahead, mate. And it's rugby needs that injection of positivity and an alternative option as well. I think the porridge landscape has got to come to an end. And
look, we're very lucky, right? We get to work in a sport that we absolutely fucking love. Yeah. And the difference is we're both sitting here not just saying how shit it is, but we're saying here's what we want to do to help fix it. You know, and I think that's where if everything was sorted and we didn't have this opportunity, would we love it as much? I certainly know that like more I've got involved in the business side of the sport, the more I've enjoyed it. Because there's just more to think about now, and I love it, you know, like, and don't get me wrong, it's hard to sit there and watch a match without sitting there going, how would I sell them seats? What's the queue for the bar like? Actually, what's the hospitality like at halftime? How do they get to and from the stadium? All this other shit, you know, but I still think it takes people that really love this game to want to see it do well and to then go and do it. So whether that is podcasting or whether that is journalism or whether that's content creating or whether that's business, I think there's enough good people here that we're going to really show why this game is so great. And, you know, we've always said at ATR, like 2031 World Cup in America is the biggest opportunity to change this game altogether. If you crack that American market, you have that many amazing athletes there. If you can help America become a superpower and the league is good, and then all of a sudden more people want to go and play in that league, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually, I'm not just getting up early morning to watch Super Rugby, but I've got to get up even earlier or stay up later to watch MLR.
Yeah.
You know? And I just think that we've got such an amazing opportunity with this game still because we're still so young.
Yeah, imagine that, being able to stay up, watch ATR match of the day highlights, then carry on with your MLR and then straight on the Super Rugby.
I'm telling you, now that I have lights in the office and a microphone, you never know. I'm going to just start streaming every game.
I don't think you'll look as fresh, mate, if you're having to stay up all that time.
This was just for you, mate. This was just for you. You saw what I looked like in London. I didn't even manage it for that. So,
yeah, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. We could carry on forever, and I'm sure there's going to be a second episode for this because we've actually now got to probably be held accountable for what we said we're going to do. So we'll definitely get another one in. I just want to say thank you for all the opportunities as well for Rugby TTL, and obviously can't wait to be part of the ongoing success that is there's ATR as well.
Listen, I said it to you in person, and I appreciate you personally, appreciate you professionally, and glad that we've had an opportunity to jump on and actually chew the fat on some stuff.
That's it. So everyone, thank you so much for joining. I hope you really enjoyed this one, and will keep us accountable for all the bits that we said we're going to do. Hopefully you get to see a Rugby AM version coming soon on an away days tour, who knows. But if you want to keep abreast of everything that we're doing, obviously you've got the Rugby app where you can get all the content from All Things Rugby, allthingsrugby.com as well. You might even see a few of my articles there. And make sure you subscribe to YouTube, obviously Instagram, you've got that, and All Things Rugby Gram over there as well to keep abreast of all the stuff they do. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, and goodbye.